All right, everyone. So the next thing I want to do is run through an example. This is how I would do the Dunlop article. Every single article is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully this will provide some idea of where to start. So first, I want to point out the four things I have open. So I've got the data extraction instructions Word doc. This is where you'll find details of the way that I want you to report things in the spreadsheet. I've got the actual spreadsheet open. I've got Deduce open. And I've got the actual article. This is optional, but I find that in Deduce, it's a little hard to read all of the tiny little numbers in all the tables. So I usually pull up the article itself in a PDF as well. All right, so to start out, we're going to look at the effect sizes, the measures of effect. So I'm going to go to excerpts and deduce. I'm going to click on codes and go to measures of effect. So you would just check that box, go down here and click true. Now all of these excerpts are only if we had marked them as measures of effect. I'm going to sort this by title, and we've got 3 for the Dunlop article. So I'm going to click on the first one. This looks really funny. Most of them don't show up like this, but I'm going to click View in Context because I figure we did not just highlight a plain box. All right, so what it shows is Table 4 of the Dunlop article. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up in the PDF. Okay, so here we are. We've got Table 4. So you can see that they report the World Health Organization Quality of Life Question 1. That is a quality of life measurement, obviously. And then we've got the SF12. That's another quality of life measurement. We can see that they report values at day 28, so 1 month, day 56, so 2 months, and day 84, which would be 3 months. You'll see in the Word doc, I want things reported in months, even if it is kind of rounded based on the days or weeks. So when I'm looking at this, I see we've got quite a few different effect sizes. So I'm going to open up the spreadsheet, and we'll put in Dunlop, who's the author. I'm going to start out with the follow-ups. So I see month 1, month 2, month 3, and we'll start with the World Health Organization Quality of Life Question 1. So instrument is HUQUAL. And then the domain, this one's kind of funny. It's just going to be Question 1. Typically, they'll have a more formal domain name. The other thing they report for quality of life here is the SF12 mental component score. SF12. Now, I've got these memorized how I want them reported, but you would typically go into the data extraction instructions and go to instrument, and that says how I want it reported. So in bold here, HUQUAL and SF12 with no dash, that's how I want you to report it. This is so that when we upload it into R, we'll be able to have a consistent variable name. The domain, I want it reported as exactly how it's written in the article. So mental component score, and that's going to be the same for all of these. And they report it at 1 month, 2 month, and 3 month follow-up. So based on this table, these are going to be all of our effect sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and number these 1 through 6. And this is going to be the same. And the year is 2017. So this group column, some articles report based on different groups, as I discussed in the PowerPoint earlier. This one, they've got a buprenorphine group and a waitlist group. We're not going to worry about the waitlist for now. Right now, I just want us to worry about reporting the buprenorphine groups in any of these articles. Alrighty, so now we need to figure out the pre-N, mean, and standard deviation. And that's going to be the same for all of these because it's the baseline. So that's not in this table. I'm going to go back to measures of effect and deduce because I'm sure we've got that. Go to excerpts. We've already got measures of effect down here. Okay. So we've got two other things. I'm going to go to this table here. And this is table 1. So now I'm going to pull that up. Yeah, you can see here we've got the baseline characteristics. Now, something I want to point out is that they've got physical health here for baseline, but they did not report that in any of the follow-ups. This is kind of problematic, but it's not really something that we can do anything about. We just have to state it as a limitation because we have to work with the data that the authors have reported. All right, so for the buprenorphine group, question 1, World Health Organization quality of life instrument is going to be, the mean is 2.5 and standard deviation is 0.8. Let me highlight that. That's right there. And the N, you can see that up here, it's 25. It looks like the sample size is the same for all of these, so I'm just going to drag that down. Now let's look at, okay, so these are actually all going to be the same because it's the baseline for the World Health Organization question 1. Let's look at the mental health component. That's right here. So 29.5 and 11.6. And again, the baseline is the same, so that's going to be the same for all 3 of these follow-ups. Let's go back to table 4 for the follow-up measurements. All right, so it looks like they don't report the exact numbers, but this is something we can consider here is that they say, oops, this is table 3. Table 4, ITT, so that's an intent to treat analysis, which means that they kept all of the people in it even if they dropped out. So we know that this number should be the same. A lot of times they'll have a different N in the table. If you have any questions as you're going through, some of these things are a little confusing. You can always just shoot me an email or a text, or just highlight it and come back to it later after I get back to you. Just fill out as much as you can. All right, so now we're going to do the post mean for question 1 at month 1 or day 28 here. So World Health Organization, day 28 is 3.6 and 0.6. Follow-up 2, so month 2 is going to be right here, 3.7 and 0.7. And then for day 84 or month 3, we've got 3.9 and 0.7. Same thing for the mental health component score. Month 1, 40.6, 12.9, 44.5, and 12.2. And we've got 44.4 and 11.8. From here, things get a little bit easier because a lot of it is going to be the same. Now, at this point, we're going to go into deduce again, but we're going to pull up a different code. So let's pull up dropout percentage because that's the next one. I'm going to take that out of here. And we're going to click on dropout percentage. Say true. So we've only got one thing to consider for Dunlop. And you can see that they report at different time points, which is great. They've got different dropout percentages at each of our follow-ups. So week 4 is going to be 96% retained, which would be 4% dropout. Now we've got month 1 here and month 1 down here. So it's going to be the same for those two. At week 8, data was collected for 92% of buprenorphine groups. So that'd be an 8% dropout rate. And these 2 rows here are our 2 months. So those will be the same. And then finally, we've got group 3, or sorry, follow-up point at 3 months. So 88% were retained at 3 months, so that would be a 12% dropout rate. All right, our next thing is going to be country. So code country. True. Okay, this is a good example. Sometimes deduce acts a little funky. You just got to toggle it. Put it in and out. So Dunlop. Australia. And that's going to be the same for all of these effect sizes. We can just drag that down. Facility type, this is going to look a little bit different because we actually coded based on different types. So you can put all of these in here. And we'll do OTP. There are no OTP codes. Office-based. I don't see Dunlop, so I don't think it's office-based. Put other. I don't see Dunlop again. Outpatient. All right, Dunlop is here. I'm going to put the mouse over it so I can read this excerpt and make sure, just double check one last time that it really does fit the description. And I see that this is the first outpatient community-based treatment center in Lebanon. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. I was looking at the wrong one. That was a different article. Okay, here we go. So here we go, Australia again, that makes more sense. So now we can double check. It's a specialist community-based outpatient opioid agonist treatment. So I'm going to double check how I want to report this. Go down to facility. All right, so if it's an outpatient SUD facility, I'm just going to write outpatient. And that's going to be the same for all of them. The next code is buprenorphine type. So I'll take all of these off of the filters and do the same thing for buprenorphine type. Now, almost all of these articles are oral sublingual, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with that one because I think it's going to be there, which it is. We're going to double check the excerpt. Yep, treated with sublingual buprenorphine. Again, I'm going to double check how this should be reported. Bub type. So if it's oral sublingual, I'm just going to write oral. All right, this next code, individual, is asking, was individual counseling provided? So we've got a code for that. I'm going to click true. All right, so here I don't see Dunlop listed. So I'm going to go ahead and write NA. Because what that means is that it's missing or it's unclear. I want to point out the difference between no and missing or unclear. I'd like to save 0 or no for situations where we know it wasn't provided. This could be if they said specifically in the article, only group counseling was provided. Then we can say pretty much for certain individual counseling was not provided. With this NA or missing, unclear, it's really more saying that the authors did not report this. We don't know if individual counseling was provided. Chances are in the analysis, I'm going to end up grouping no's and missing, unclears together, but for now, let's keep them separate. So let's do the same thing for group counseling. Okay, again, same thing here. I don't see Dunlop, so this is going to be NA as well. The next column is a little bit trickier, so I want to point out exactly how I have it phrased here. So psychosocial, where any adjunctive psychosocial service is provided. This can include individual counseling, group counseling, family therapy, peer support groups, psychiatric care, or general psychosocial support. So we're going to go through a bunch of these different codes. We've already looked at individual and group counseling, but let's go ahead and family therapy, other, peer support groups, psychiatric. Yeah, those are all of our psychosocial. And again, we already covered group and individual counseling. The other ones are more medical care, which we're not going to worry about right now. All right, so I don't see Dunlop there. How about other? I don't see Dunlop in other. It's not in peer support groups. I don't think we ever coded any peer support specialists. Yeah, we didn't. Psychiatric care. Nope. So again, we don't know if it just wasn't reported, so we're going to put NA. But we don't have any proof to say that, yes, psychosocial support was provided. All right, next up is average dose. Alrighty, so we've got two things we can look at here. Let's start with the first one. Participants randomized to treatment were inducted with an 8 milligram dose. So we don't really care about the induction dose. We really want to capture closer to their maintenance dose or what they were on throughout treatment. Let's look at the next excerpt. Okay, this is more what we're looking for. So mean buprenorphine dose for the intervention group was 21.0 plus or minus 5.8 at week 4. So this is another one that's going to vary based on which follow-up we're looking at. So this first row is follow-up at month 1 or week 4. So that would be 21.0. And we also have month 1 here in this 4th row. At week 8 or month 2, we've got 22.3 is the average. And then finally for week 12, 22.7. Okay. Next up is start year and end year. The code I use for this is study period. All right. Between April 2009 to October 2009. So it looks like the start year and the end year are both going to be 2009. The next thing we're looking at is randomized control trial. So we have one specific code for that. It's going to be down here. Randomized control trial. And it looks like it was a randomized control trial, but we'll double check the excerpt. The study design was an open label randomized control trial. So we're going to put 1 for that. The last 4 columns are all about our sample characteristics. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle all of these at the same time. Let's look at age first. All right, so again, we've got this table that's a little bit hard to read. We could go to the PDF or see if it gets clearer if I blow it up a little bit. Yeah, I think this is clear enough. So we've got the age is 36.1 is the mean for the buprenorphine group, which is what we care about. 36.1. And it's all reported together, so we can just drag that down. We've also got the gender in this one. So it looks like 60% are male. It's going to be 0.60. Again, I'd like to encourage you to use the data extraction instructions. I know how I want these reported, but we've got some details here. Like you can see, if it's 60%, I want it as a number 0 to 1, so 0.60. Next up is going to be race, ethnicity. And I don't see anything reported here. So we're going to go ahead and write NA because it's missing or unknown. And last but not least, we've got opioids of choice. So we've got 2 things we can look at. Participants were aged 18 years or older and met diagnostic criteria for a current heroin dependence disorder. So according to our instructions, this last code is going to be what percentage of the sample were heroin users. So it's going to be 100% or 1.0. All right, so that's it. That is how we're going to report things. It's going to vary a lot based on how the authors report their results. So that's why I want you to start with measures of effect first. That's just the best way to do it. And you'll know how many rows you need to have based on how they report their quantitative values for quality of life. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask as you go through. I expect it's going to be a learning process. So thank you.